Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are officially on the hunt. And no, we're not talking about a new quarterback or a flashy wide receiver. This time, the spotlight is on the secondary. After an NFL draft that left fans scratching their heads over the lack of reinforcements at cornerback, the Dolphins seem to be shifting their attention to the free agent market. And who's the name generating buzz in South Beach? None other than former Chargers cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. According to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, Miami has reached out to Samuel, yes, the son of Asante Samuel, the two-time Super Bowl champ. This contact might just be exploratory for now, but it's a sign. The Dolphins know they have a hole in the secondary, and Samuel could be the answer if the stars align. And let's face it, this team isn't getting through the AFC without locking down that backfield. Now, let's be clear, there's no offer on the table yet. And Samuel hasn't been flown down to Miami for a fancy dinner or a press tour, but that early interest, yeah, that's significant. Because if you know how these offseason moves go, you know timing is everything. Reaching out before Samuel even starts his July visits tells us one thing: Miami wants to be in the room when those meetings happen. They want a seat at the table before the buzz gets too loud. It's chess, not checkers. This is a front office trying to stay one move ahead, especially after losing a chunk of defensive depth in free agency and with questions swirling around veteran corner Jalen Ramsey's future. Whether Ramsey sticks around or not, the Dolphins are looking to hedge their bets. And a 25-year-old with proven upside is exactly the kind of player you try to scoop before the market gets competitive. So let's talk about Asante Samuel Jr., because his name might ring familiar, but his numbers tell the real story. A second-round pick back in 2021, Samuel came into the league with high expectations and a pretty solid NFL bloodline. And he delivered. From day one, he showed he could hang with top-tier receivers. He wasn't just filling a jersey, he was making plays. Across his first 3 seasons with the Chargers, he started 7 games, snagged 2 interceptions each year, and racked up double-digit pass deflections consistently. We're talking about a cornerback who's not afraid to take risks, jump, routes, and bring physicality when it counts. Those aren't just highlight reel plays. Those are game changers. And in an NFL where one busted coverage can flip an entire game, a guy like Samuel can be the difference between wild card heartbreak and a deep postseason run. But, and here's the twist, 2024 didn't go as planned. In April, Samuel underwent neck surgery, a serious procedure that knocked him out for the entire season. That's the cloud hanging over his free agency. Teams aren't just looking at what he did in 2023. They're wondering if he's the same player in 2025. That's why this summer is so crucial. Samuel is set to meet with teams in July once he's further along in his recovery and closer to being cleared for contact. It's not just a matter of whether he can still play. It's about whether he can still be that guy. The one who frustrated quarterbacks week in and week out. The one who gave opposing offensive coordinators headaches. If the medical reports check out, someone is going to take that gamble. And if the Dolphins play their cards right, it could be them. From a scheme perspective, Samuel actually fits quite nicely into what Miami's trying to build. New defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver has made it clear that aggression is the name of the game. High energy, man-to-man coverage, and corners who aren't afraid to play on an island. Sound familiar? That's literally how Samuel made his name. He thrives in press coverage, reads routes with pinpoint anticipation, and has the kind of short area quickness that keeps even the fastest receivers from breaking free. The Dolphins need that right now, with a defense that struggled to contain deep threats last season and a division packed with talented quarterbacks. Adding a guy like Samuel isn't just smart, it's necessary. It's the kind of move that can shift the balance of power, especially when you're chasing teams like the Bills and Chiefs in the playoff race. Let's not overlook the age factor here. Samuel is still just 25. He's entering what should be the prime of his career, assuming he's fully recovered. This isn't a case of bringing in a veteran on his last legs, hoping to squeeze out one more productive year. This is about investing in potential and maybe even unlocking a level of play we haven't seen yet. The Dolphins have built a roster full of explosive talent on offense, but it's time the defense caught up. And with Jalen Ramsey potentially on the way out, the secondary is going to need a new leader, someone who can grow into that role, both on and off the field. Samuel's calm demeanor combined with his fire on game day gives him the makeup of a future cornerstone. The Dolphins have a chance to get in on the ground floor of something special. Now, of course, all of this depends on health. The NFL is brutal. Neck injuries aren't like hamstrings or ankle sprains. They can derail careers in a heartbeat. But reports suggest Samuel's rehab is going well, and he's on track to be ready for team visits by July. That's going to be the real test. Can he pass a physical? Can he show teams he hasn't lost a step? If the answer is yes, there's going to be a line at his door. Teams will remember his tape, his instincts, his ability to read quarterbacks like a book. And if Miami waits too long, they might lose out. That's why this early contact matters. They're not committing yet, but they're positioning themselves to pounce. That's how smart teams operate. You don't wait for the bidding war. You build the relationship before it starts. And look, let's not forget who we're talking about here. The Dolphins are a team that's on the cusp. They've got a top-tier offense, a promising head coach in Mike McDaniel, and a fan base starving for postseason success. What they don't have is a lockdown secondary that can go toe-to-toe with the AFC's elite. Tua Tagovailoa can throw for 300 yards all he wants, but if your defense gives up 35, it doesn't matter. Games are won in the margins, and the Dolphins need more playmakers on defense to tip those scales in their favor. Samuel brings that potential. He's the kind of player who can snatch a late-game interception, change momentum, and seal wins. That's exactly the kind of presence you want on your roster when January rolls around. So, what's the bottom line here? The Dolphins reached out to Asante Samuel Jr., and while that might seem like a small step, it's actually a major signal. They know what's missing from their defense. They know the clock is ticking on this window of opportunity. And they know Samuel, despite the injury, could be a steal if he bounces back. This move, or even the interest in this move, shows Miami is serious about competing. They're not going to sit on their hands and hope things work out. They're scouting, they're planning, and they're ready to act. The next few weeks will be crucial, not just for Samuel's future, but for Miami's chances at becoming a complete team. Eyes will be on South Beach. And July might just bring some fireworks. So buckle up, Dolphins fans. Because if this thing goes down, it's going to get real interesting real fast. Whether it's a signing or just a flirtation, the message is loud and clear. Miami isn't done building. They see the gaps. They know the stakes. And if Samuel proves he's healthy, this team might just land one of the most intriguing free agents left on the board. The ball's in their court now, and the rest of the league, they're watching closely. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Man, the NFL never sleeps. And the latest drama coming out of South Beach has fans and insiders losing their minds. If the rumors are true, we might be witnessing the beginning of a full-blown crisis inside the Miami Dolphins locker room. According to a leak that's been making the rounds on social media and picked up by a few lesser-known insiders, Tyreek Hill has apparently made a bombshell statement. He doesn't want to play with Jalen Waddle anymore. Yeah, you heard that. Right. Two of the fastest, most electric wide receivers in the league might be heading for a breakup that no one saw coming. And if this is true, the Dolphins' dream of becoming a Super Bowl contender just hit an iceberg. Now, let's be clear. As of now, the Dolphins haven't released any official statement, no coach press conference, no front office denial, not even a vague tweet. But the chatter hasn't stopped. In fact, it's only gotten louder with insiders claiming that tension between Hill and Waddle has been building behind the scenes all season long. Some point to a few sideline arguments caught on camera. Others say Hill hasn't been happy with how targets have been distributed in key games. The chemistry that once looked so natural between Tua, Hill, and Waddle might have been more of a performance than we thought. It's like watching a buddy cop movie where the actors hate each other offset. You never know until someone leaks the tea. Let's rewind for a second. Tyreek Hill came to Miami with big expectations, not just to get paid, but to win. And to be fair, he's been delivering. Hill's production has been insane. But elite athletes want more than numbers. They want the spotlight, the respect, and sometimes control. Some insiders are whispering that Hill feels overshadowed by the Dolphins' attempts to promote Waddle as a co-star rather than treating Hill as the alpha dog. If that's the case, this drama goes beyond just football. It's about ego, legacy, and locker room politics. And when those factors clash, you've got the perfect recipe for chaos. On the other side, let's not forget Jalen Waddle's rise has been impressive. He's younger, he's versatile, and in some games, he's looked like the most dangerous weapon on the field. But if he and Hill are battling for touches, attention, or even locker room influence, that can fracture a team fast. Think back to other duos that fell apart. OBJ and Landry, Antonio Brown and Juju, even back to T.O. and McNabb. The NFL has a long history of dynamic pairs turning dysfunctional. So this Dolphins situation, it fits the mold. And when smoke this starts leaking out, there's usually a fire burning somewhere beneath the surface. Multiple sources are claiming that Hill reportedly told someone close to him he's done playing with Waddle and would even consider asking for a trade. If the situation doesn't improve, that's a nuclear level threat. This isn't just a gripe about roots or snaps, it's a potential ultimatum. The Dolphins are now caught in a dilemma, try to mediate between the two biggest stars or make a hard decision that could blow up their offense. Remember, we're talking about two Pro Bowl level talents who should be elevating each other. Instead, they might be tearing the team apart from the inside. Fans are understandably shook. Twitter's in meltdown mode. Instagram comment sections are flooded with Dolphins fans either defending Hill, backing Waddle, or just begging the front office to get everyone in a room and squash the beef. The truth is, this Dolphins team had the tools to make a deep playoff run, maybe even a Super Bowl shot if things clicked. But internal conflict like this can derail a season in an instant. We've seen it happen too many times before. Teams with talent but no chemistry often implode. And if Miami doesn't act fast, that's exactly where they're headed. What's wild is that just last year, Hill and Waddle were seen as the league's scariest wideout duo. Defenses couldn't keep up. They had that classic pick your poison setup that left coordinators shaking in their booths. Tua was thriving, the offense was electric, and everything seemed perfect. So what changed? Some say Hill's contract situation. Others point to coaching decisions, internal favoritism, or just plain old jealousy. Whatever the root cause is, it's clear something's off, and it's starting to spill into public view. Once that happens, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle. Coach Mike McDaniel now finds himself in the toughest position of his Dolphins tenure. He's known as a player's coach, someone who connects with his guys. But this situation might require more than just good vibes and clever play calls. It might require laying down the law or choosing sides. If Hill's statement about not playing with Waddle anymore is real and not just emotional venting, the coach has to step in fast, let it fester, and you risk losing the locker room. Move too quickly, and you might lose one of your biggest stars. There's no easy answer, so where do we go from here? Well, if the Dolphins want to salvage this situation, they need to act behind closed doors, and fast. Bring in the captains, have the hard conversations, get the egos in check. Maybe it's a heart-to-heart between Hill and Waddle. Maybe it's a mediation with Tua and the coaching staff present. Whatever it is, it needs to happen before this rumor snowballs into full-blown dysfunction. Because one thing's for sure, if this turns into a media circus, it'll distract, divide, and doom the Dolphins' playoff hopes. Time is ticking, and all eyes are on Miami. At the end of the day, this is the NFL. It's a league of talent, pressure, and personality. Conflicts happen. But what separates championship teams from the rest is how they handle adversity. If Hill and Waddle can get past this, if it's even real to begin with, they could come out stronger. But if this turns into a standoff, don't be surprised if one of them is wearing a different jersey next season. For now, all we can do is watch, wait, and wonder. Is this the beginning of the end for Miami's superstar duo? Or just a bump in the road on their way to greatness? That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.